Hello, this is Melissa Daniels with Strabismus Stereopsis, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. My friend Denise Allen and I were able to go to the COVD convention in Toronto, Canada last week and rub shoulders with all of these amazing optometrists and vision therapists, and she wanted to talk about it on her podcast, so I decided to throw a recording of it up here as well, in case some of you wanted to know a little bit more about what the experience was like and some of the big things that we learned while we were there. If you want more information about strabismus, about vision therapy, head over to my website, strabismussolutions.com, and I will see you there. And without further ado, here is our interview.
Welcome today to the Healing Our Sight podcast. This is your host, Denise Allen. Today, I have a special guest, Melissa Daniels. And you're going to all think, well, you've had her on before. But this is a really special episode because Melissa and I had an awesome experience last week, didn't we, Melissa?
Yes, it was amazing. We went to the COVD conference in Toronto, Canada, and just basically partied with all of the brilliant vision therapy people for a week, and it was the greatest.
We did. And Melissa, as you probably know, if you've paid attention to what she does, doesn't do anything halfway. So when she says we partied with them, it's true. She let them do all of the stuff to her, didn't you?
Oh, yes. I was definitely the model for the strabismus class. They just experimented. I felt like I was like under a microscope and everyone was watching, trying to figure out what my eyes were doing. And they would get excited when they did weird things because my eyes were doing all the weird stuff they read about in textbooks, but hadn't seen in real life.
Yeah, it was perfect for them. They were probably so grateful that you showed up.
Probably.
What was your favorite thing that you learned in those classes, Melissa?
I think my biggest takeaway from especially the first like 2 days where it was all about strabismus was that my optometrist was right all along. What he's been trying to get me to do. And I'm like, no, I want to wear red and green glasses and I want to do anti-suppression and play Tetris and all of those things that are definitely a little bit more popular, things like the Brock string. And those are all really central activities. And you have to have like perfect central alignment, which I don't have. And the more I learned in those classes, I just realized it's the peripheral fusion. That is where you have to start. You have to get your peripheral to fuse together and then it slowly works in and you can eventually get central, but you cannot start there. And that has to come kind of as a byproduct instead of the focal point. And so all of the ways that they're talking about treating amblyopia, strabismus, it's all changing. Instead of getting each eye strong on its own, it's all about getting them working together first. So that was really good for me to hear. My optometrist has been telling me this, but I didn't always listen. So to hear from someone else was like, okay, wow, everyone is saying this. There's probably some validity there.
Exactly. That was an idea that was really central to the class that I did too, was getting the peripheral really good and getting everything integrated really well too, because it included all the body movement part that we do some of, excuse me, but maybe not as much as we should even,
right.
Maybe that body integration part is a bigger piece than any of us realize. And that's, another component that we should be looking at. And then we kind of got snippets of information from the shorter classes, right? On the other days, since they were an hour at a time, an hour and a half class, which was a little harder to go deep on.
Yes. They still tried to go deep. It just went way over my head. So those ones were definitely more complicated. There were a couple that I was able to like follow, but I definitely was confused and just basically completely impressed watching the optometrist and vision therapist taking notes, asking questions. I'm like, I can't even believe they can follow what's going on. Like these people are really smart. And like this is very sciencey. I didn't expect it to be like so like fact and data driven and I guess I just didn't realize like how much science there was behind something like syntonics.
Yeah, I enjoyed the syntonics classes.
Right.
That doesn't mean I would know how to use them though.
Right. But you
It-
had a
there-
big Syntonics experience. You should
I
tell everyone
did.
about it.
It was not in the class. It was in the exhibit hall, which is a totally different thing. So there were a couple of booths that we went to all the booths. They were all great. There were a couple of them though that were specific to Syntonics, and one of them, I think I caught her when everyone else was in class. She figured out which light colors I needed. She placed them on my points that were stressed out. So it was my left eye muscle in here that was really tight. So she did this color here and a different color here, and just kind of, it's like acupressure kind of a thing. And the muscles released. And then I felt so much better. I slept better. My eyes felt better for days after. And now I'm like, I need to contact her and get those little lights so that I can see if I can do that again. So one of the other exciting things for me was talking to doctors, and I'm a little self-conscious about my eyes after all of this, right? And telling them who I was and what I was about, and having them say, well, were you ESO or EXO? And I was like, you mean you can't tell? That's so great. That's the best news ever.
Oh, yeah. I was asked this same question, like, what are you doing? I tell them I was a patient, and
Mhm.
then I say I'm strabismus patient. I'm a strab, as they would call me, and no one
Mhm.
ever questioned me. They're like, yes, you are.
I'm sorry.
I felt like they were staring into my soul, and I'm like, yes, my eyes go up and down and sideways, and you never know what's gonna happen with my eyeballs. So yeah, they definitely did not have that reaction to me, which is okay. I actually was fine with it. All sorts of people were coming and doing the cover test where they cover, your right eye and your left eye and break suppression and see what your eyes do. And they found it very exciting what my eyes would do, because my eyes do all the things. They go all the directions, and like, oh, and you have this and you have this. And it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I met my hero, David Cook, as you know, because I talked about him all the time. But he's an optometrist. He wrote The Shape of the Sky, for those who aren't familiar with him, and he is just brilliant. He understands strabismus on such a different level than other optometrists that I've read or talked to, and he just gets it and knows how to explain how to see the world with both eyes and kind of make that adjustment. So I definitely wrote him an email before we went and said, I want to meet you. Will you sign my book? And he said yes. And so when I saw him, I just went running, and he's such a funny guy, always very eccentric, wearing fun hats and shirts. And so I just said, here it's you. And I just got so excited. And he said, oh, you must be Melissa. And so, yeah, I think I got to do a little mini vision therapy sessions with him 2 or 3 times throughout the weekend, and even, sat by him in a couple classes where he would answer my questions, and it was just so cool. Like, he talked to my doctor, gave my doctor some ideas to do with me. So, I mean, just to be able to rub shoulders with these people was really neat.
Yeah, that was the best. It was so fun to see you able to do that.
I got to dance with him. He asked me to
Oh,
dance.
everything, all of it. Yeah, it was fabulous. And I'm not as outgoing as you. I know that is shocking. Everyone's going to be so shocked. So I had to push myself to go up to the people and say, hey, I have this book that you wrote. Can you sign it? And of course, they graciously did so. David Cook was not nearly as impressed. The book that I brought him wasn't The Shape of the Sky, though.
It wasn't.
No.
He wrote this.
I know.
This is what he wrote. Melissa, I've loved our conversations and meeting you, and you are my best friend forever. BFF. No, he didn't say that. In my dreams, he said that.
I didn't think he said that because I thought you told me what he wrote before.
That's what he meant by what
Yes.
he wrote.
No, it was so awesome to watch Melissa go up and say, I just want to be your best friend. He just laughed. So cute.
He did laugh. I think I was just like super hyper because I was so excited to be there. I don't know how many countless doctors would be standing there talking to me, and then my optometrist, Dr. Dan, would be there, and they'd look at him and say, "Is she always like this?" So many times, and he would always say, "Yes, yes, she is."
Yeah.
It's
It's
okay.
true.
I mean, the
It's
world needs high energy people too, right?
mhm.
We talk about the exhibit hall and how much fun it was. What was your
Oh,
favorite booth?
well, I mean, the Centonics booth was my favorite.
Yes. Okay, fair enough.
I mean, nothing could even, well, actually, the one where they put all three together was pretty cool too. You know,
With the
I
therapy
forget what it was
bed that,
called.
what was that bed called that goes around in a circle and you've got the headphones and the lights?
Hmm. Yeah. And so the idea was to integrate the vestibular, oral, and visual together. Yeah, I loved all of it because in every booth, even if it was something that obviously I'm not going to go use right now because I'm pretty much done with my therapy, it was really cool to see how it's improved, because that's why you liked the headset thing, right?
Oh, right. I mean, the HoloLens is just phenomenal. It was so cool. It's, if you don't know what it is, the Microsoft makes a headset. It's a HoloLens, and it basically puts, it's like, I think it's augmented reality. It's what it's called. So like you are in the room that you're in and you can see it. So it's different than virtual reality. And then it projects this like holographic image into space. And so you can like, see a Brock string in the room, but it's like a virtual Brock string. Anyways, they have a ton of different exercises. They go with the VTS4. If you've done in-office vision therapy, and they have like the VTS4 computer. It's the same exercises, but as a holograph in the real world. And it was like mind blowing for me. I definitely, like, at first I wasn't really getting it. And I called Dr. Dan over and I was like, "Hey, can you tell them what settings to do?" And like, I don't know, can you make this work? And so he's like, "Okay, do this, do that, change it to this exercise." So he got it all set up, and then I started seeing it, the magic, and
Mhm.
I was getting way more depth than I've ever gotten with any other activity. I could just feel my eyes, because my eyes point in. I could feel them relaxing out as I tried to look in the distance. With that headset, it was like the feedback was so immediate. I was able to get it so much better. And then after I took it off is when it really got cool. That's when Dr. Sanet came over. He saw that I was like, whoa, like I was a little dizzy, and I'm like, just kind of like a little sensory overloaded. And he put his arm around me and he took me off to the side and had me like look out into the whole exhibit hall. And he was giving me little things, I want you to look. Can you look straight forward and see this sign and see this letter? But then can you also see this person with the red hat? And can you see
Mhm.
this booth over here in these chairs? And so he was kind of helping me get my peripheral locked in. And then it just kind of snapped into place, and the stereo just all came in the space. I mean, it was like one of those amazing stereo moments. So super cool. I kept having those experiences all weekend. So I'm like, that HoloLens, I want one. They're not cheap, $13,000.
Ooh,
So
yeah,
they told
very
me they'd
cool.
write me a prescription for one though. He said, "You can
Mm.
get one if you want. We'll sell you one." And I'm like, well, it's a little steep. Like I barely got the $300 VR headset, so
Yeah.
13,000 is just not really in the budget.
Yeah, and you told me I needed to go try it, and so I did, and I think they just let me do it like they would any normal person that's not going to buy it, right? Because I'm
Hmm.
not a doctor. So they put it on me. I saw the thing out in space, where you could like reach out and touch it, and then you could walk all the way around it and touch
Hmm.
it and all of that. But that they didn't do all the cool stuff to me, but that they did to you because you're more fun, you
Well,
know.
and they were trying to convince Dr. Nielsen, so they knew that if they could show him how well it worked on his patient, he'd be more enticed to buy
Mhm.
it. It did not work, unfortunately. I really wanted him to get it, but he did not.
Yeah.
But um yeah, it was a really cool. I mean, it's just awesome technology. Like I found that like at so many of the booths, it's like, okay, they've had these red and green activities forever, but now they just are coming up with new creative ways to use them. And I thought, wow, these people are so creative. They are constantly thinking of how can we make this more engaging for kids? How can we make this more effective? And it's just beautiful. You could just cry.
Yes. And it was fun to have my doctor there and have him come up to the booth. And I was like, I would like a little extra thing to go on my aperture rule that
Mm-hmm.
people that don't know what that is, they're not going to understand what I'm talking about. But I only have one little set of cards, and you flip them, you have to fuse them together.
Mm-hmm.
And there were other sets of cards to put on it. And I was like, well, I want
Yes.
that one, and I want that one, and I want that one. And well, actually, I had to scale it back to two. But the one of them that I picked was the Randot, and Dr. Davies said, well, that one's really hard. And I said, uh-huh. I wanted
Yeah.
because I can actually do it. I mean, on the easier levels, I can actually do it. And so that will give me another challenge, and it'll be more interesting.
So were there certain people that you met that just you're never going to forget that were just so fun? What was, with just like meeting people and getting to know people throughout the process?
Yes. Well, and you shared your favorite person, right?
Yes,
So I
I
might as
did.
well share mine. Yes, actually, it was really cool because the 2-day class, part of the reason I decided to go to it was because it was Robert Sanet and Pilar Vergara, who I mentioned in one of my previous episodes, that I had read her book. And so I took the book with me, and I was determined I was going to, well, no, hers I didn't take with me. I wanted to take it with me. I tried to buy it, and I had it
Yes.
as an ebook. And I went up to her after the class, and I said, I tried really hard to buy your book as a physical copy so that I could bring it so you could sign it. And she's so sweet. And she said, oh, it's not available as a physical copy in the United States right now. And I was like, oh, dang it. And then we just talked a little bit and went our separate ways. And then later she came up to me and she said, come talk to me. I have something for you. And so, well, she didn't say I have something. She just said, come talk to me later. And so I went and talked to her, and she said, I brought one copy of that book with me, and I didn't know who I was going to give it to. And it's you. And she had already signed it to me. And then she gave it to me. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy.
That was so cool. She was so much fun too.
She was. Do you have any final words, Melissa, for this episode? What you want people to know about our experience and kind of where things are going, maybe for you and with all of this?
I think I was just I mean, a lot of it was what I expected it to be, exhibit hall. I knew I was going to be excited about all of that. I knew I was going to be excited to learn, but I was surprised at how much I loved getting to know the different vision therapists and optometrists that I met. They're
Mm-hmm.
just so genuine. I mean, the more you learn, like I kind of thought, oh, they're specialists, so they make more money and they're going to be more pompous. And that's not true. It's like they chose a harder career path. They probably aren't making as much because they can't bill insurance. I mean, there's just so many things, but they chose it anyway because it's meaningful to them. You were mentioning so many of them had eye problems and needed vision therapy, and that's what inspired them to go into this field. So I just love, like, they were just genuine, amazing people that were so fun to be around. And I thought, I want to be with these people all the time. So I'm already like figuring out like, okay, I am going to be a vision therapist after all. I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to get a job at my office and maybe work one day a week or something, just because it's such a cool profession and I just find it amazing. So that was something that was really exciting to me to be a part of.
Yeah. I think that was one of my biggest takeaways also, just how much of a difference it makes to actually show up, be in the space with all the people, connect with them on a very personal level. I mean, I got to meet Colleen Cushion, who I did a podcast with way at the beginning, but to meet her in person was just awesome, just connecting with people who I'd tried to get through the blockade that a lot of offices have up for people like me.
Right.
Because they don't want to be not focused on their work, right?
Right.
And so because I was able to show up and talk to them and talk to the office manager, meet the person, there's going to be a lot of people that I'm going to be able to talk to on my podcast because we got to go and meet them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Being there in person was amazing. Just, yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah. So thanks for inviting me or allowing me to go with you, I guess, because it was so cool that you got to receive that awesome award for making vision therapy visible. It was just
Yeah,
great.
it
You're
was
doing
really
such great.
fun. I was very flattered and just, it was exciting to go. So thank you for coming with me so that I didn't have to be by myself.
It was my pleasure. Really. It was amazing.